Because, I actually sent the last one I taught in September. Actually, the other night I talked to my sister, and she asked me to send it to her. And I was able to witness to her, too. So,
nice.
Anyway, hold on. Oh, I need my water. Sorry.
I'll get it for you.
Huh?
I'll get it for you.
What? Okay, it's just in my bag.
The water bottle?
No, it's in my bag. Is it good?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want a full bottle or?
Whatever. No, I have a full bottle. Yeah, I have 4 in there. Thanks.
We
Thank
hope
you.
we get you pleased tonight.
What, please? So, what am I doing? It's a handy thing, right? Okay.
Here, let me hold it.
Okay, hold on. There you go. So anyway, I get a call at 6:05 saying, David, JT can't make it. Can you have something prepared? So actually, for years, I've been working on this piece called Origins. So tonight is going to be an intro to Origins. Or tonight is going to be the Origins, and I'll be done. So, and what's fun about this stuff is that I've been able to do it, like I said, with New York, we church, we'd have times to be able to talk. But what's been happening here, this is really a great format. And like I said, people are actually watching this stuff. That's what I told you. You got to let me post these. So, no, because people love it. You really are. I know you feel that way sometimes, but I'm telling you, as the producer, director, and editor, I'm telling you, ask anyone. They're not going to lie to you because they don't know you well enough. So,
I'll take your advice.
Thank
Shall
you.
I take his advice?
Yes.
Am I speaking? Because this is about Origins. You never know. Like I said, last couple weeks ago, Bobby Wilson.
Right.
Everybody who heard that one.
Yeah.
I got it on video. She says, thank you, Julie. He says, I got to tell David, thanks, because that party, somebody watched the video from October 31st, and you talk about an Origins. And he says, David, it's like a deal of a lifetime. I told her, I says, well, if there isn't any royalties, she goes, no, he's got you. But the funny thing is about all these things is that where do things begin?
We need to tell them what happened so that they'll...
Well, basically, we had a party for JT and Lady J, surprise party. So I posted like 27 videos that night. And because of that, he got a call from his manager. And he says, somebody saw you singing Disco Inferno. And he goes, they want to talk to you about doing some house music. It's not, not everything is Christian. There's Christian bankers who do banking, So this guy, he's great at what he does. And he says, I got to tell you, this is like a deal of a lifetime. And I'm like, well, this is why I think I stay up late night editing all this stuff, is to hear stories like that. My Pakistan friends, things getting shared wherever. I've shared with a few of you. So because of that, he was just saying he says, yeah, I didn't know if I was going to do a party, and then all of a sudden he did the party. And then we videoed it. And then who knows where this will take. Same thing with you. So
But he did get a deal out of that.
yeah, you said he got a deal of a lifetime, he said.
Yeah.
So what's really neat about it is that when, like I said, she called me and I said, I really have been working on this. I think my first entry was, April 18, 2020. And it was something that I've been wanting to put together. And so I started taking notes. So like I said, I was about to come pick up Lynn, and then I says, oh man, I'm going to need some data. So I went and took my notes and emailed them to myself. So this is going to be raw, but it's going to be fun. Because the thing is that I'm going to go with some of the basics of what's the Origins? Why are we in this crazy Twilight Zone world we're in right now? I equate it to Back to the Future 2, and we're in some alternative timeline, but we can see it. See? Okay. So, because we have eyes to see and ears to hear. A lot don't.
Amen.
And I told this to Lynn coming here. I says, I don't want to talk to the ones who can't see or can't hear. They're just irritating. I love them. I know. I love them. But I mean, I care for your eternal soul. Like I said this last time. But don't care about your idiosyncrasies or your lack of research. And that's where this is all about. That's why we believe in the Bible. To me, the Origins. And again, you think about it, like people say, is the Bible real or not? And I listened to a lot of people on CSN. And one of them, which was the great thing to shut down anyone on the whole creation or, microbial ooze that made all these massive cells that created 2 species that could reproduce. Or God made it all, as he said. Origin 1. And so in Origin 1 is this. He says that the sun they think they started measuring it in the late 1800s. And he says as the sun was, it's been shrinking. They have provable science to show it's shrinking. So if we went back billions of years, that means the sun would have been out to Jupiter, there would have been no Earth, and we wouldn't be here talking. Okay? Or, the origin story, God was real, and he created it. Deal with that. So anyway, for whoever's watching. But the truth is, it's got to be that way. We are an army. We come here on Wednesdays, like I said a few times I've said this, because we have nothing better to do. Or We need the fellowship. I was telling Lynn coming here. I said, yeah, we have a prayer meeting, and it's nice, it's great, but we're a social event too. We created our own church. Somebody asked me today at breakfast, I was with my men's group, who asked to have some breakfast. And I said to him, I says, it's like, this is what it's about. It's like we are believers of all this, and there's a reason for everything. And like when I listened to this guy about the sun and about the thing, I have this really cool guy. I might share it with some of you guys if you want to see it. It's a 49-minute piece by Gerald Schroeder. A friend of mine years ago, 10 years ago, sent me this link. And it's not really good quality, but this guy's like a Jewish guy who is MIT, has 2 degrees, one in astrophysics and one in biology, I think. And he gets into this and he shows you in 49 minutes, and whoever put it together with graphs, shows you how the 6-day creation, the 6 years, the 6,000 year thing, how long man's really been on recorded time, and coincides with the 14.5 billion years that the scientists say. And he lays it out in such a way that I literally have this on my phone, and when I was in New York and I was on the train, I must have watched this thing 30, 40 times. And I just wanted to retain how he got that information out there. But the thing is, I still can't do it justice, but the premise is that the 14.5 or 15 billion years that the scientists say, oh no, well if you look at time and space, the way Einstein proved the fact that time's different on the sun than on Jupiter, blah, blah, blah. The basic stuff that 100 years ago, whoever knew this stuff, but we are at an incredible age that we can prove this stuff. And so I'm big on origins. So when somebody wants to go a few rounds, how much time do you got? What topic do you want? And I mean that humbly, because this is stuff I feel is irrefutable. He even compared it to Maimonides, who was one of the writers of the Talmud, I think around 400 or 500 AD. And he explains it how he says, how this guy put it together. So he says, I have a reputation. I'm in papers. I have to hold my reputation in my field. He says, so I can't just be talking nonsense. And so he went back to Maimonides and he talked about it and he explained it. And the way they put it together, whoever wants to watch it, it was like, okay, you ain't gonna learn this in college. And either you get the blessings of these teachings and all. When JT comes up there, you sing and you provide the help. It's like, wow, to me, that is the key of Scripture. In other words, being Jewish, as a Christian, I'm a purist. Either Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead, or if he didn't, I want out. I want nothing to do with this nonsense, just like Paul said. We have to be pitied. To me, people want to go on with Paul said this or that, or is this true, who wrote this? Don't care. Okay? Don't care. I care about where's the origins. Did Christ die on the cross for our sins? Yes or no? Yeah. Did he rise from the dead? Yes or no? Yeah. Done. You want to talk? Want to have lunch? Want to have a drink? Other than that, I don't care. That's what's great about getting older. Because as we talked before, we don't care like we used to. And I think for this video, I always loved the story. It's an email I got years ago. And it was about why send 18 to 20-year-olds to war. He says you need to send 50, 60, 70-year-olds because they're already hurting, they're already cranky, they want to kill someone, and they're not afraid to die. And you know what? And the truth is, and plus, remember, murder is an effective deterrent when you're older. So, it's like, well, we're aboard, okay. But this all does apply to origins. And the thing is that, because people want to fight you, they want to fight God. What do you think this is all about, what we're dealing with? This is so abnormal. Somebody called in today on the Tima show to Every Man an Answer with Mike Kessler. Love this guy and his guests. And they talk about this stuff and about we've been hijacked, And for whoever doesn't want to believe that, do your research. Other than that, for us who have done our research, he says, they were talking about the Second Amendment and stuff like that. Not to get into that topic, but the point is, we are under a Judeo-Christian country. We feel those principles are being taken away, or else why would you start messing with Mr. Potato Head Cat in the Hat? But you can still buy a book on Hitler. You can still buy Hitler's book. Oh, but you can't buy the Cat in the Hat. Just saying, So I watch this stuff, I go, where did it come from? It's again, going back, origin. People who don't, it's either A or B. Either you believe in the origins of creation or you don't. If you don't, well, for those who, let's just go for it. Then you must be a Democrat. Because their platform removed in God. They removed their own platform. I'm not just being like on the right here. I'm trying to be honest. As a researcher, I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I want to know if I'm right or wrong. And that's the difference. When I started shooting, I shot 16 rallies as a photojournalist. And when people would start coming out of the woodwork, I put the disclaimer. I'm going as a photojournalist. I'm going to see what's going on. I know there's 2 camps on this. I says, this is a test. Let's see who can read. You know? And I found out a lot of people that I know see my stuff, and they can't read. And there's this family, people like, and then finally it subsided because they knew. But the thing is, when you do your research, you have nothing to be apologizing for. So anyways, it was one of these things that got me started on it when I was 418, was a show called Born to Win by Ronald L. Dart. And they did a good talk on Easter and its origins. And I've been hearing a lot of people about that, about do we celebrate whatever. Look, you know, just as long as they get to know about Jesus, don't worry about the origin story. We know it's from an Easter tradition from the Roman days. People can debate that for hours. You can watch hours. I'm going to save you a lot of time in a minute. Don't worry about it. Okay? So that'll deal with that origin story. Because we know that the origin is he rose from the dead. He was the fulfillment of the Passover lamb. That's it. You want to give an egg? You want to let a kid hide it and find it? Have a ball. You know, I'm not going to, you know, on your parade. You know? But the thing is, I will say is that use as an opportunity to witness. So again, I want to give you highlights. So I got into the, in fact, there was a neat thing I saw here. It was called, it was on 5/2/2020. This is when my log started growing, because it's now 590 pages. But it started in February 11th a year ago, and it's taken on a whole nother life of itself. So the unique thing is that this thing was called Evolution, Bacteria to Beethoven. And I said, wow, what a cool title, right? And so he says, so there are questions about the origins of life and Darwinism can't answer. And he says the DNA enigma. And that would be for when I get into this, either, like I said, either this is the origins presentation, or the fact is I'm going to look this up and get back and elaborate more. Of course, then that might be an hour long, so I'll spare you. So, but the thing is that the DNA enigma, nobody can deal with that. I says, where's the origins? Like the guy was talking, he goes, you like the building you see here? But just all of a sudden popped up? There was an origin. Somebody designed it, somebody put it together. You know, you just didn't manually do that. The DNA is the same thing. It's for computer guys, come on. For any computer guy who is too anal to not see the computer code is no different than DNA code. It's just biological versus physical. And I'm like, please, debate me, please. But you can't. And it's not because I'm trying to be some cocky jerk. I mean, as a Christian, I said to you when we came in, we're a little more raw. And you said, because you like us, we could talk. And there's a lot of places a lot of Christians can't go, can't talk. How do I know that? Because I went to places that didn't let you wear a mask, and you all know my stance on that, and you know me personally. So, but I had fun with it. And they agreed, they 100% agreed. I said, where's your faith? Well, you're going to die from this? You're more likely to die in I-15 than you are from any of this. I said, I'm not trying to be honest in a humorous way, but in a way that people can say, where did you get it from? Where's your data? If you're going to, I'm going to have to include a few things on origins with what's going on today to make this topic current. But the fact is that you now, now you can let a restaurant have 35% people in. How nice of you. Okay, let's see. Let's put the data and the numbers, how you arrived at it, next to it. How about that? Facts? Don't bother me with facts, right? Or how about this other one? How about when they do the 35%, that's how much they get paid of their state salary? We'll see how quick that lasts. When you're going to make somebody else suffer who you've never had to write the front of a check, you've only signed the back of a check, how many here got a name on that one? Because when you especially, my dear friend, we've talked, and the thing is, and then you're going to, for a year, you're going to mess with people? Thank God for certain states, but that's him. That does apply to origins, trust me. So, and so anyway, in fact, I got that other piece from PragerU, actually. It's a very unique piece. It's under 6 minutes. So then I was loading the War Room for you guys, and I loaded the movie Monumental. I told you about the origins of the country. And everybody knows the Founding Fathers in Washington and all that, and the signers. But this friend of mine turned me onto this thing, which I've shared with many of you, called Monumental. The Monumental is a piece that is the Founding Fathers of the Founding Fathers. Fascinated. I've done research for years, and a friend of mine in New York turned me onto this piece. I've shared it with many of will watch it. I've loaded it to Google Drive so you can, and I've shared it with many. Came out in 2011, and it said that truly touched me and was inspirational. Info I never knew about as a constitutional researcher, and believe me, I was surprised about a lot of what I wasn't aware of. And it says, in fact, these are the unsung heroes and Christians who were the founding fathers for the founding fathers that signed the Declaration of Independence and more. I always like origins of where things come from. And when I saw this piece, I was like, wow, why didn't we hear about this? And there's a monument in Massachusetts, huge thing that they constructed that has all the principles on the monument to make the country run properly. If we followed the principles on this monument in Massachusetts, it's like it's around some subdivision. I mean, it's not even well known. I mean, if they just followed the principles, we wouldn't have any of these problems. But again, back to the origins. Who are you going to believe? Creation or man's, idiocy of a fairy tale for adults? Evolution. But that's what it is. I love the preacher who said that. I go, well, I'm using that one. That's like, writing that one down. And so anyway, so then on January 5th, 2021, I finally penned this. It's a Tuesday. Start working on the new teaching origins. Create a new log for this. So I have, but I haven't put my notes there yet. But so because she called me and she says we were just talking about this before she asked me this tonight, and she said, yeah, maybe you can start getting that one going. So I started doing more research that day. Thank God, because tonight would be shorter, which might be a good thing too. So, but anyway, so there was this guy Jack Abilene, Growing Through Grace, and I like this one too. And this is I like some of the origins of where things came from. Like we talk about, like we're from Vegas, right? Where do craps come from? Casting of lots. Right? And then all of a sudden, of course, they take it like they do, and they mess it up. But that was casting of lots is really craps, if you really want to look at it. And then let's see. So he says, Hebrew Bible contains several examples of casting of lots as a means of determining God's will. In the book of Leviticus 16:8, God commanded Moses and Aaron shall cast lots upon the two goats, one lot for the Lord, another for the scapegoat. I found that fascinating, and even though I've heard, in fact, they call it claromancy. I looked it up into Wikipedia. It's called claromancy. It's something about having clarity or something with Lord. I have notes on this, but it's just I thought that was just wild that was done to make decisions. And how many people, it's in a way you would think in today's world, it's no different than like the 8-ball. You shake it up and go, what's my future? My favorite is, I think, while we're on origins, I'm going to get this is off my notes a bit, but it's like people go, like, what sign are you? And I used to have some funny lines, but I was hearing this guy, he says, look, I'm the sign of the cross. We're not into that. But I have a guy named James Kennedy who got into the origins of the biblical astronomy and astrology, where it came from, why we have origins of it. I think I sent a link out a few months ago about this one, because he is great. It's a little dry, some of it, but bang, bang, bang. He lives up, the whole creation story is in the sky. And because man took it like he does everything else, and since Satan can't be original, he has to copy and make it worse, But if you look at the origins, when people say, your origins of astrology, and I see some Christians are into it, and I spare them right now, unless I get to it. I'm not going to do it online. I ain't putting it in writing. But the fact is that they need to wake up. Because, what's the best story? It's when Saul, he banned all witches, and what does he do? He goes, gets a witch, and says, well, I'm going to talk, and then Samuel appears, and she's freaked out because he's never had anything like that ever happen. It's all fraud. If it was really good, they'd all be lottery winners, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is that, take any newspaper, we've all talked about this, take the newspaper clipping of the 12 signs, and then you put it in a pile and you throw it to someone, it'll all apply because it's the way it's written, we know that. So the origins of all this stuff, you really want to talk about astrology and astronomy? James Kennedy, best piece on it. So anyway, so then of course I got into the heavens and the earth thing. So the next thing I really enjoyed, there's these things that stuck in my mind, where corporations come from, all right? Anybody? No? Okay, so I had to be dramatic, because somebody's got to be saying, that guy's nuts, or boy, I like how he's saying that. So anyway, so there's the 70 elders of Israel. And they came from Moses. And where did they come from? Because he was doing everything. And then his father-in-law comes up to him and says, you got to delegate. And that's where your delegation comes from and everything. And then it turned out to be the 5s and 10s. And then that's where the 70 elders came from. And I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. Because I wasn't taught that in Hebrew school. If I was, I might remember that. But I remember being taught, all right, this is their alphabet. This is how you got to write it. This is what you got to say. I was a parrot. And then when the joke I tell everyone is, it took me to become a Christian and become a better Jew. Ba-bum-bum. But true, because I didn't know this as a Jew. But as a Christian, pretty cool stuff. And I thought that was awesome, and that's where structures come from. And it came from that original time, because he's managing a couple million people. They're in the desert, which they got there in 3 weeks, but he did say in the Bible they were a stiff-necked people. 40 years, okay, and that's where Deuteronomy came from, because now double, same stuff pretty much in the other text, but for the new generation. Because your parents ain't making it. And people don't like that about God. Well, they're stiff-necked people. They need, bang. And that's where the promised land, Joshua, Jesus, Joshua, Jesus, promised land. I always tell this as a side note. I always believe God did Moses a favor about not letting him come into the promised land. Some people think it's a liberal view. But I thought it was pretty cool because they would just worship him. You know how the people are. We go, look what they do today. Yeah, Kool-Aid. They'll drink anything. So the thing is, they'll start worshiping him. That's why God had to hide the body. And then how Satan was fighting with Michael over about the body. I mean, something was going on there. And just because he hit a rock instead of said to the rock, he had to find something with this guy. Just say, yeah, you can't go to the land. Trust me, I'm doing you a favor. But I'm telling you, I really think God really did him a favor, and I think that's an awesome thing. But the stories of Moses can go on, and the types to connect Jesus to it all. It's like I just listen to these guys and all the things with the plagues and the Passover, and then going to the Promised Land. And I was telling my sister this the other day about some of the things about the Jewish wedding, the wedding feast, and how he goes to prepare a place and then comes back for his bride, and we know when his bride comes back. And I'm like, oh. Boy, sure seems like the cross. I mean, it's like, just line the charts up against each other. It's really that cool. Bankruptcy laws, where did we get that from? Bankruptcy. But it's actually on the Liberty Bell. And it's Leviticus, I think it's 25:10. And let liberty ring throughout the land. Right? And I just, when I first learned that years ago, I went, they put a Bible verse on the Liberty Bell, and it was because of the 7-year periods, which are technically called Shemitas, but the 50th year is the year of Jubilee, where everything would be going back to its own ownership. Nobody got too rich, nobody got too poor, and the thing would go back to ownership. This way, it was a perfect monetary system. Once again, Satan messes it up, because he says, well, I want all of this. And they haven't had provisions when you blew it, or you messed up, or you were a slave because of your bad decisions, and then you were freed as a slave. And so, but this all came from Leviticus. Bankruptcy law, the liberty of through the land, the whole idea of freedom. Again, I tell people, show me, you can make it as difficult as you want. We can do a 30-page thesis on it, or you can just read what I just wrote. And it's, Leviticus 25:10 and the year of Jubilee. Perfect. And it was a perfect monetary system, but, again, man can do it better, can't they? We always like to get our hands in there like a little kid, sticking his finger in a little socket. All right, let him go. Let's see if the kid lives or dies. I mean, I'm not trying to be facetious, but bless you. But it's just the way it is. And of course, I like the origins of music, and a lot of it did come. It just didn't come some caveman guy going with some bones.
Lots of things.
They didn't have those yet. They had rocks. They had rock and they had roll. But that's about it. So, because man was always smart. Man didn't go hug. And a lot of that, what the fossils they find, that was all from the flood. You can either go with, Neanderthal and big dinosaurs, or maybe they lived together and they all died in the flood and they were around each other. And that's pretty much a theory that's been out there quite a bit. But people, of course, want to argue. So, which is why I like to research, So,
Well done.
no, I'm not done. So, want me to be done?
No, she said well done.
Oh, well done.
Well done.
I'm sorry.
He's my witness.
I was sipping on water and then dribbled all over. We're just flawed beings, right?
Did you think I said you're done?
I went. All I heard was done. Hey, comic relief, right? But considering I have been studying this for a while. I've been wanting to talk about it. And so, anyways, the origins of music, but psalms, sing with timbrels, get a new song. It's all over. It's 150 psalms. Most of them are music. And you think about that and how, Satan, of course, was considered to be the choir leader in heaven. That's the way it's taught. So, of course, you would see where our music industry in Hollywood went. But we really started with all pure things. You think about the origins, the purity of the, like Harvard and the Ivy Leagues. All were Christian-based. They still have the Christian symbols and letters on the statues. I know that'll be gone soon. But all those were all to teach pastors. Like anything, over time, people forget their history. What else does that happen? 430 years after Jacob then moved and with Joseph. And then over the years, all the pharaohs kind of forgot them. After 430 years, became the slaves. But if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have had our Passover. things happen. God works, makes in all things working for His purpose. And even though we don't understand it, it's tough, especially when it's with a loved one. Because when you think about that aspect, the loved one, which is my next topic, was marriage, you know? And marriage was, for those who didn't like this part, tough. That's what I wrote. God made the man and woman, know which bathroom to use. Not politically correct, and I don't apologize for it. If you can't figure it out, you have other issues.
Good for you.
Okay? And I'll stand by that, and I'll debate it, because it's just so easy to prove. I mean, you can think whatever, and you can cut off parts and take hormones, and your DNA is your DNA. And if you don't like it, you feel a certain way. The only thing that to be honest, I've met and I've known was hermaphrodites. Other than that, I have no debate for that. That's between them and God, you know. But when I talk about people, it's not Adam and Steve, you know, it's Adam and Eve. You know, you've heard that one many times. It's just that marriage is a beautiful thing. That's why I probably wrote this after I talked to my sister Sunday about the whole idea of the Jewish feast and the wedding, and how everything He did on the cross fulfilled the Jewish feast, and that we're at the end of the church age, just according to Revelation. You know, by the way, if anybody says Revelations, you know they don't know what they're talking about. So that's a little point. And the thing is that with these things about the marriage, is that it's so beautiful. I mean, I'm grateful I was married. You know, I'm grateful I didn't have kids. You know, but I'm grateful I had that experience. And when I learned about it, it was the purest form of intimacy. I'm grateful to have had that, considering a lot of us in that era didn't care about that. And so, I'm grateful I'm with my grandnieces and nephews, and all due to my sister. So I vicariously got to live through her. I'll never say I know what it's like to be a parent, but like I met Ivy through it all, and then, you know, these people, and I got to come and document it. And even though my job is a little tough when I get home, because you probably know, you're like, oh no, I got to edit all this. But the truth is that it's when it's done, it's like, wow, another great memory in the can. You know, and I'm very fortunate. I really, literally have the best of both worlds in many ways. And so, to me, not everybody, and again, you know who they are. Some people are meant to have kids, some are not. But these people who say, I want to marry you, you know, and it's like, you know, please. You know, it's like, you know, if you're going to have some counseling, go do it right. We even went counseling, her and I, we went to our pastor, you know, but I think we just, you know, we like being together, and so it worked for the time it worked. But for everyone else who's made it work for years, you'll be the first one to testify it ain't easy, you know, because it ain't easy. And relationships are work. You know, even in the coming together on a weekly basis or doing whatever we do, or networking events we would go to, you know, you love some of these people, but some of these people, you know, I don't want to hear about your dirty laundry. I hate it when they post it on Facebook, and I love you, but enough, you know. And so the thing with marriages is that the origin of that was for the whole point of the wedding feast after the rapture, and after the 1,000 years, and then after the new heaven and new earth. To me, that is the most awesome origin story, because it's like, it's so beyond what our little 3D minds can probably even entail to try to understand. Yet, we try to do it because marriage is really just to show us how God really works. And how you know, think about it, we're an enemy of God. He's going to marry us. He wants to marry us. You know what, that's pretty cool. And then you see how it is the greatest love story ever told. The best origin story. Because even before all this was created, He knew us, and He knew He had a place for us. And I mean, that gives me the chills, because it's forever. It ain't just whatever. So, and then my final point, I guess, is in communication. And I guess you would think this is what this has all been about. But the truth is that going on the communication, the gospel through broadcasting, because that's how they got it, through TV. It was a farmer term, many of you know this. You broadcast your seed. That's what Christ wanted us to do. That's why He gave the 4 stories about the seeds. And so the idea is that the farmer's term, like, we are blessed to have all the technology we have today. Just have to use it wisely. They had scrolls in their day, and they had the seals. When we heard the point in Revelation, He broke the seal. Well, it was like us opening a book. I heard this a few months ago. I went, that's pretty cool. That they didn't just break the seal. Like, that's how when you had a Torah, you had it rolled up, and you had to break the seal to open the Torah. I went, okay, I'm using that one. You know, and so then they opened it up to teach the people. The parents' job was to teach the children, and I think that's and to teach the children about God and the history. That was the whole purpose of the first 5 books of the Bible, the main origin story about family, because God created the family creates the community creates the state, and the state creates the world. You know, the country, but the world. You know the point. It's a rule of 3 actually. But the point is that when you see all these origins, whether it be in every topic, and there are more, time, this is not the forum for it. But in the short notes I've taken since last year, I'm glad that I was kind of put in a position to try to espouse on it. So, hope you enjoyed it. And, pretty cool. All right. Let me turn this on. Thank you.
Good, good.
Now I get to